When we're trying to produce something that's bigger than we can get in a single output, meaning that when Code Interpreter responds to us, if it can't give us a single message or chunk of text to give us the answer that we need or to produce the document that we need, we're going to have to work a little bit harder. Now, we're going to see over and over this sort of pattern like I'm about to show you, where it's doing some work and then it gets cut off or it stops. And sometimes we can get lucky and we can just say, hey, continue what you were doing, and it'll pick up what it was doing and where it left off and then give us a file. So in this case, I was trying to get it to produce a Jupyter notebook, which is basically an interactive notebook where you can interact with data. And so I had it going through and producing the notebook, but it turned out the notebook was bigger than it could fit into this output up here, particularly because it was doing a lot of work before it and making mistakes. And so it ended up running out of space in order to give me the output. And so in this case, I got lucky because I could just say continue, and then it went on and picked up where it left off and gave me the notebook. But there's a lot of cases where we're going to work on something that's so much bigger than a single, output that it can give us from a prompt that we're not going to be able to get it in there. And we have to have a strategy for working with it. And how are we going to do that? So what we're typically going to do is we're going to have a plan in place where we incrementally build the product that we're trying to do. Now, this is an example where I'm going to have it go and create an AI planning example. So we talked about AI planning and how we can have it plan how to accomplish a particular task for us. And so I'm having it basically go and build a plan. And part of the plan is going to be that it incrementally writes all of the different pieces it needs. So if you're writing a book, for example, and you needed to produce all of the different pieces, it's going to have to write it probably, one page at a time. And then you're going to take the individual pages and you're going to put them together into chapters. And then you're going to take the individual chapters and putting them into the book. But the key piece is you have to have a plan where you go step by step by step and you produce each piece of the final output incrementally. And then you can take all of those final outputs and put them together. So in this example, I've had it put together a plan, and now I'm asking it to proceed in basically executing its plan, or basically writing or producing this piece of content step by step. Now in this case, what I was asking it to do was I had recorded a transcript of a video and I wanted to turn it into a blog post. And so I had it produce a plan for producing the blog post, which included incrementally doing particular things and writing different pieces of it. And then I had it go and start executing its plan. And at different points in time, I'm basically telling it to proceed to the next step, proceed to the next step. And what I'm doing is telling it to write or output the next piece of content. Now, the way that you use this is when you're going to build something big, is you have it go and try to write it a section or a piece at a time. And each time it produces something, ideally you save it in a file. And the reason behind this is you want it to write a bunch of individual pieces or produce a bunch of individual whatever it is that you can then assemble all the files into the final product. So in this case, I had it go through and take a transcript of one of my videos, and I had it produce individual sections describing the concepts from that video. I had it write each section incrementally. And you can see as I scroll up this how long this conversation is. This is way beyond a single piece of text. And each time it's doing something, it's basically producing a file that's saving that incremental product. So each time it produces a new piece of the final overall output that I want, I have it save it to a file. And I'm going through here and I'm basically building up all the different pieces that I'm going to need of this final output. One by one, I'm building them up. And then towards the very end down here, when we get all the way down to the very bottom of this thing, I finally get to the point where I can say combine all of the sections into a single file for me to download. And so the idea behind this is I can go and work for a long time. I can have it make file after file after file after file. And each file has a separate piece of the overall thing I'm trying to create. And then at the end, I just tell it, combine it into one file, combine it into one presentation, combine it into one whatever it is that you're trying to produce. So if you're working with a big document and you need it to understand it, you're going to have to break it down into pieces. But if you're trying to produce some large document, you're going to have it probably go and write the individual pieces one by one. Now, I want to just take one moment to contrast this with structured data. If you're working purely with structured data, there's a lot of chance, there's a good chance that you're never going to have to do any of this stuff, right? Because it can just write Python code to automate all of this for you behind the scenes. So you can take some gargantuan Excel file or data set, in whatever form it is, you can upload it. It can write code to do really complex processes on it. It can output really big files as the result of those processes. So it may go and take an Excel file, crunch a ton of numbers, and produce another huge file as output. And that can probably happen in a single chat message because it's behind the scenes and doesn't all have to be visible. The moment you start reading unstructured text or writing unstructured text, meaning that you're having it have to reason over the text and produce and write the output. And the output is not write a Python program that produces the real output, but meaning like literally it's writing, or it's having to do a lot of work. It's having to write a really long Python program. It's these cases where we have to start breaking the output down. If you're writing a program, this might be getting to write Python, functions for individual pieces and then put them all together. If you're writing a novel, it might be writing individual pages and then putting all the pages together into a chapter and then putting all the chapters together into a book. Now note, when you get to this scale, it gets harder and harder to work with and to do it well. But the key is you're going to have to start breaking things down, both on the reasoning side. When you're reading them, you break it into pages, find the pages you need, have it read just those pages. And on the writing side, you're going to have this larger product that you're trying to work on, but you're going to have it break it down a page at a time, or a paragraph at a time, or a section at a time. Write individual pieces of it, save them as separate files incrementally as you go, and then have it assemble them at the end. That's the way that you're going to have to go and build these larger products that you're trying to create.